Hey guys, we're back, and now the next guest is a guy that is going to talk a lot about A/B tests, maybe drones. I don't know. He likes both, so I'm pretty sure everybody knows something Cofrancesco. So I'm just going to add him to the stream. Hey man.
Hey, what's going on, Lazar? How are you doing?
Oh, I'm getting absolutely crazy. It's 15th hour of our live stream, and I'm here and I'm talking to literally everybody. So yeah, it's probably the craziest thing that I did so far. At least in top three. How are you?
I'm doing well. It seems like you still have a bit more to go, though. 15 hours in, you're still a while left to go, right?
Yeah. To be honest, I'm going to have like a couple of hours of sleep. I definitely need to have a couple of hours of sleep, even though I have Red Bull. But I reached out to Red Bull and asked them to sponsor us, and they were like, "We would, but it was like such a short notice. So, like, guys, like,
For next time, that's exciting. Yeah.
yeah. Next time we're going to like, thank you for showing like at such short notice and willing to talk at our 48-hour live stream.
No problem. So, yeah, happy to help out for sure.
Yeah, you sent me an email a couple of days ago, and there is something really cool about PickFu that is going on. Would you like to talk about it?
Yeah, sure thing. So
why not? Since we're here, like no pressure.
Yeah, no problem at all. A few days ago, we released on our website for the first time ever bundled pricing options. So we just had a lot of people that were coming to us before Q4 and saying, "Hey, I want to run multiple polls like back to back, but I want a special deal for buying in bulk." So we released those on the website about a couple of weeks ago, and just been letting those out right in time for Q4. So if anyone wants to check those out, they can definitely go and check those out. It's definitely a good deal.
Cool. So guys, go to PickFu website and check. So yeah, give me just a second to be honest. Okay. So how is Prime Day going for you? Like from A/B test side, do you see like more people doing A/B tests now or like a month ago? Like, are people ready for like this kind of stuff like Prime Day in October?
You know, I think it really just depends. I think our customer base is pretty widespread. So some people kind of use PickFu all across their business and have been using it for years. But I think some of the newer sellers or people haven't used PickFu as much. I think I've just seen just in general with third-party sellers that, you know, people tend to be a little bit of procrastinators when it comes to different things. So definitely no like massive uplift for us in terms of sales, but I think we'll see it pretty consistent throughout all of
like stable growth for PickFu.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there you can definitely see there's some individual sellers that are like they're trying to knock out a lot, you know, at this time. But I think it really just depends on the users. It depends on it depends.
Yeah, like when it comes to Amazon sales and all that, like Amazon business for like sellers, I talked to literally a lot of people today about everything there, and like all of them are experiencing like exponential growth. Like, is that something that is happening with PickFu as well?
Well, you got to think PickFu is more on the business to business side of things. So I think obviously people who are selling physical products, I think for Prime Day, they're probably seeing some big uplifts, or just e-commerce in general. But PickFu is, I think it's a little bit more spread out. It's not like everyone is just going to come and buy PickFu products on Prime Day or around Q4. But it really just depends on who the business owner is, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense. So we didn't really create any like topic for today, I think.
It's
So
okay. I've got some stuff that I can present. I can do whatever you
yeah,
need to do, Lazar. I know.
no, I told you like this is going to be a casual talk, and like if you had a chance to see like previous talks and conversation with like Sean Smith and Elizabeth Green and like the rest of the people, it was like more or less we laughed for an hour or so. So yeah, so the thing is like to provide value to our viewers, and like what is that PickFu and Anthony can give to viewers when it comes to like Amazon and like comparing stuff, because like we have PPC agency, and like bunch of people that we talk to today run PPC agency, and like when it comes to PPC, it's all about A/B tests. It's all about comparing stuff. And I know a lot of people are using your services. So like for those that are not using your services, like why should they use PickFu? And also apart from that, like for guys that are already using, like to give some extra ideas what's useful there.
Yeah, sure. I guess the first thing I would say is, and I can definitely do a more casual talk for sure. I guess the first thing I would say is for anyone who's not using something like PickFu, or, you know, for those of you who aren't, you know, who might not know what PickFu is, PickFu is really just something that you can use to get customer feedback, right? And so for anyone who's not using some kind of legitimate way to get customer feedback, what I like to ask to sellers is, where are you currently going for that, right? And so like, imagine if you're, you know, you wouldn't go and run your pay-per-click ads and just go with your gut and say, yeah, I think I'm going to pick these keywords, or I'm going to pick this for my bid price. You would use some kind of data to make that decision, right? You wouldn't just go with your gut. And so for anyone who is selling on Amazon or e-commerce in general, think about, what are you doing for, where are you going to get feedback on for creative assets? So like your images, your product packaging, what your actual listing looks like. And think about, where are you going to decide if those are going to be your best images, your best product packaging, your best branding. And if you're going with just your gut, you know, or if what a lot of sellers do is they're going and asking like a random person, or they're asking their spouse or their partner, and they're saying, babe, you know, what do you think about my packaging? What do you think about my logos? If you're in that scenario, you should probably start thinking about, okay, how can you integrate customer feedback into your business in a more legitimate way, so that you're not just going with your gut, that you're not asking random strangers and just random people that you meet. And so what I'll say is that for a lot of sellers, the idea of going and getting, you know, customer feedback in a real way from people, it seems like, you know, it's not the biggest part. You know, a lot of people don't think about it regularly as something they should do. But if you look at, oh, I guess I just lost you there. Well, I guess so. I guess I'll just keep chatting, and I think we'll get Lazar back in just a second. There we go.
It was like bam for a second.
All good. Anyway,
it's like fifth time today, and yeah. Like, but to be honest, like I don't know if you heard, like this is the first time that we're doing any kind of streaming, and like for the first time we decided to do like the shorter version, like 48 hours, and like we already experienced literally every failure that you can have. Like in second minute we had like cameras software like failure, and like we had like I didn't know that like Facebook has like 8-hour like streaming time, and like they cancel your stream after that. But like after a couple of hours, like we're completely fine. Like there's no thing that is going to like change the course here. So sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem at all. No, I was just saying that you know, for sellers that haven't done anything like PickFu, you know, in 2020 and beyond, it's just going to get more and more competitive on Amazon. So, you know, start thinking about a real way to get customer feedback on creative assets, and not just go with kind of your gut on things. It'll save you a lot of frustration and potentially issues down the road.
Yeah, well, when it comes to that, like like for our agency, for example, one of the main reasons why we never expanded to anything else apart from PPC because like it's really subjective to do design and that kind of stuff. And like I know that sellers often think that their product is awesome. Obviously, they wouldn't build it and they wouldn't make it and sell it if they didn't feel like that it's the right thing to do. But sometimes when it comes to visuals and everything, like pictures, sometimes they don't look good. Like, and it's not about sellers. Like I remember when I used to work on design of the products, and like when we wanted to place logo, like should we place it in front of the product, or like should we place it on the bottom or somewhere else? Like I could like bet a lot of money to get a certain position, and like we did PickFu tests, and like I was so frustrated that my option didn't win, because like most of the people were like, oh, this other thing is way better than the one that I've chosen, and they're like, okay, like I have no idea about design. Like it's a pretty subjective thing, and that's why PickFu is like really good option to go with. And you know what's the funny part? I recently went to one gathering of like really big sellers, like 8 to 9 figure sellers, and it was like 30 of them, and they're like really big sharks when it comes to Amazon advertising and Amazon sales and everything. And I think like all of them are using PickFu, like literally every single one of them. So
yeah,
there might be a reason for that.
Well, the thing is, there's a really interesting case study that is going to come out in the next in the next few weeks, I think. And we actually, what we really wanted to do is we wanted to get an Amazon listing that was already doing quite well, and then we wanted to have different agencies kind of compete in kind of an agency competition to create the best versions of everything on that listing. So their photos, their design, their copywriting, and then the video for the listing. And we got Kevin King to be a judge, and we got Karen from Helium 10 to be a judge. And so we're building out some really interesting content around it. But one of the really interesting things, having Karen and Kevin as judges on this, is they voted one way, right? And then we also ran all of the deliverables. We ran them through PickFu to see like what the panel's thought was. And what was super interesting in that is that Karen and Kevin both, would say that the way that they look at something, the way that they judged, is just based on their own independent thoughts. And it might come with a deep experience in Amazon, but it's also like they're very close to what the product itself is, right? They also, you have a little bit of a bias. And so one of the things I think that was really interesting that came out of that discussion, one of the things that they were talking about is that it's not necessarily like PickFu is going to help you figure out which is best, but PickFu is really good in helping you identify where you might have made a big mistake, right? And so the whole design might be fantastic, or the image might be really good, but there might be something in there that you would just overlook that you might not even think of, or kind of these out of the box ideas of just, man, you didn't really look at something from that perspective, or just a slightly different viewpoint was really helpful. And so when PickFu, I think probably a lot of the reason that the bigger sellers are using this is because they're looking and they're saying, okay, I've invested all this money in launching a product. I put my money into quality inspections, into manufacturing, into all of the launch costs. And they want to make sure that if they are selling a product, that they haven't made a fundamental, really, really big issue, because there's really a lot that's on the line.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, to be honest. So we should wait for a couple of weeks to see the results.
Yeah, so it's really so we're just breaking apart. We're just shooting some different content around it, but I would say that probably by the end of this, I don't want to say it should be around like towards the end of this month, is you're gonna see some stuff coming down the pipeline. It's really exciting. It's definitely the first time any of this is done before, and it should be interesting stuff to watch. We'll see. Yeah,
it sounds definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, Lazar, like what other questions can maybe I help? I don't know if I can, like, I'm thinking of how I can provide some value for the folks that are on the live stream today. I can maybe.
Well, I'm pretty sure that people today are super stressed about situation. Like, obviously, Prime Day is always a stressful thing to do. Like, and problem is that this year, like, because of all the problems that everybody had, like Prime Day moved from summer to October, and like sales are moved from one point to another, and like nothing normal happened basically this year. So
Yeah.
like I don't know who I talked to today, and like one of the worst positions that I would like to work at, like the worst position to be in is like to be a supply chain manager.
Yeah.
Like I have no idea what's going to happen there, like for any of them. So that's absolutely crazy, and that's one of the biggest challenges that they're having, like to be aware of like what's going to happen. And like I'm pretty sure that most of them are having problems with launching new products, especially during the period when they had like limits of getting like up to 200 units in the warehouse and not being sure that like if the product is right or not. So they added like options of selling FBA or FBM. And I know that you used to work in Amazon, and like you worked something like really close to FBA or something like that.
Yeah, I worked inside of the fulfillment center. I mean, I can, yeah, for sure. I saw it all on the inside. So yeah, when I'm hearing about these inventory, number one, when I heard earlier this year that Amazon was actually restricting the amount of inventory that came into the fulfillment centers, obviously I thought that was crazy. But also I think it just points to how big Amazon is, that they can be really restrictive now on saying these quantity limits because they know they've got enough sellers. And I think this is like that level of competition that everyone has been talking about getting to, that it's going to be more and more tight for the sellers to stand out. I will say just from working at Amazon and seeing the inside of those fulfillment centers, that I think sometimes you have to really kind of wrap your mind around and understand that these are just like massive warehouses that are multiple stories high, and that there's a lot going on. So it's super busy. I'm very glad that I'm not. I just posted a photo.
That you're not there.
Yeah, I just posted a photo of that was from 3 years ago. Photo from working back at Amazon, and I can tell you that this is we'd be just a few weeks into what they call as Q4, and it's insane. Like it's an insane 3-month period. It's like it's insane as for the employees as it is for sellers, but it's crazy. Yeah.
It's definitely crazy for everybody, like absolute madness. So apart from that, like what are the other things that you guys are doing at the moment? Like what's like the next thing that is going to happen for you guys? Like what are you working on? Like what can sellers expect from like PickFu, or like basically like like what they can get in the future from PickFu? Like, well, you know what happened? Like recently, Jana, I think, reached out to you, and she asked like because like we talked at the conference with a lot of sellers, and they were like, oh, we heard about PickFu, and like, who are the people that they're reaching out? Like, is the audience that I'm getting there like the right audience for me? Like, I'm selling whatever product, like something I don't want to mention like specific product, but like is the audience that I'm that these guys are asking, like is that audience the right for me, and so on?
Yeah, so it really, I'd say by and large, yes. Right now, our audience is all in the United States. Right now, we have just made some moves that are coming down the pipeline that expand our poll to a couple other spots, a couple other countries, and so we should have some more news in the next couple of months with that. By and large, though, you got to think like if you're testing your product packaging. So all of our audience is based in the United States, and so for some people who are like sellers that are selling in European markets, they might say, well, is PickFu going to be helpful in that regard? And to that, what I'll say is that right now we only have a U.S. based. All of our poll is based in the U.S. And so we don't have a poll that's based in Europe. But what I would ask sellers is that if they are selling in Europe, where are they currently going for feedback in Europe now? Are they going just with their gut? Are they kind of asking random strangers? And so I'd say if there was like a local option that will give you access to real customer feedback, then that's obviously going to be better than going off with one that's based in the US. But if you're just doing nothing, then PickFu is still certainly better than doing nothing. But generally, though, it's I'd say it's pretty useful for, it doesn't matter what market you're selling towards, just because just getting some kind of feedback on like a logo or product packaging is going to be better than just, again, going with your gut or asking like your spouse, like, hey, what do you think about my logos or about my product packaging? But in terms of like what's next on the pipeline, though, I mean, what's really exciting for us is we've really been doubling down, like, Thrasio, the sponsor here. We've been working, with them. They're one of our big clients at PickFu. And one of the things they asked us to do actually was creating a version of PickFu that much more closely resembled the Amazon platform. So those are some changes you'll be able to see very soon, where you can actually like pull in an ASIN, and then it'll populate different competitors. So if you wanted to test a main image, or if you wanted to test like a main image, but you wanted to create like what looks exactly like the search results, so you could bring in different competitors, and then go and manually change like what you want the price or the reviews to be, so that everything's the same and you're just testing main images. So we're really like doubling down a lot in e-commerce, just trying to as helpful as possible for e-commerce sellers, like working on different tests, and then as well like helping the users, because a lot of people, like you're saying, a lot of people are hearing about PickFu, but they had never used it before. And so a lot of what we're working on now is coming up with really good resources and training for people who are new to the platform, and can help them get over that first step, which is just setting up their first couple of questions.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, like, when it comes to, you mentioned like packaging a couple of times now, like, is there something that is pretty standard that works for everybody? Or is it like for each like customer, each product group, or each product, like something like specific or different? Or there is something that everybody should like follow, and to be sure that it can help?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, with your package, you got to realize that for a lot of sellers, packaging is probably going to be the most important thing you do as a seller. And the reason why has much less to do with the fact that, this is going to be what you get in the mail and the first thing that you open up. Like, the buyer experience is definitely part of it, but you have to look beyond that, right? If you're selling a product and you put your packaging in your product, your packaging is going to be probably one of the biggest components of your main image, right? In terms of being able to communicate with the customer just from your main image. So whether that is from an organic search, like someone is searching for your product and they see that main image and your big, bright product packaging there, or you're running, pay-per-click advertising, right? And your product packaging is in that main image, it's going to be the first thing that they see most likely. And so people shouldn't really overlook that, because the main image already has a lot of restrictions in terms of service. Like, you're not allowed to put text in your main image, but you're allowed to put text in your product packaging, right? So it's a real clever way around that. And so probably the biggest thing that works, I would say, across the board in terms of product packaging is explain on your product packaging what actually the product does. And so we actually have a very good example of this with Thrasio in the case study we did with them. It was all around their brand Angry Orange, which was a brand of pet deodorizer. And in that case study that we did with PickFu, so we talked about in that case study how just from using PickFu to optimize their product packaging, they grew that brand from $2 million to $20 million. Now, part of the reason that the packaging did very well, obviously, was because the packaging is very bright. It's very bright orange. But there's also a few other elements that really help that packaging to do well. And one of them is if you actually look, you have the name brand, which is Angry Orange Odor Eliminator. But on the second version of the product packaging, they made Angry Orange much smaller and the words Odor Eliminator much, much bigger. And so if you think about what does the product actually do, right, having the words Odor Eliminator really big, really in your face, even if it's just working on a subconscious level, it's going to help the customer to click into the listing, but it's also going to help them even on a subconscious level to make that buying action to actually add to cart. And so with your product packaging, number one, think about the visual appeal, and you could see some really good results by just making it more visually appealing. But then beyond that, what can you actually do to explain what is the product, what's going to be the benefit of this product? And just with those two things, you can see a big impact on CTR and then also on just conversion rate overall for the listing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And by the way, so basically, with smaller Angry Orange, that version 1, like on the package.
Yeah, I can actually I have the example here. I can actually pull up and I'll just flash it on the screen real quick, just because there's a few
Are you
things.
okay with that? Like you're able to share that kind of information?
Oh yeah, we have a
Oh,
whole.
okay.
Yeah. I can share this one for sure. Oh, hold on.
Okay. Give me just a second to share it. Okay.
So this is yeah, so this is kind of like in the back end of all the presentations I get. This is for when people are saying, when we kind of get to the end and they're like, hey, maybe you're not sure if PickFu is a good fit for your business. I always like to say, well, look, don't take my word for it, because there's this little company that you might have heard of called Thrasio, little baby company,
Just a small one.
pretty small one. Yeah, just set the fastest profitable record to reach unicorn status, so $1 billion in valuation. And so we have a really good case study. And again, the reason I can share this is because this is publicly available on our website. But so Thrasio has given us permission to share this. But they had this brand here, Angry Orange, for this pet deodorizer that they acquired when they bought the brand. They bought it; it was doing around $2 million a year. And then what they did is they used PickFu to optimize just their product packaging, to go from this product packaging to this product packaging, and they were able to grow that brand from $2 million to more than 20 million in sales. And so, you can go to our YouTube page and see a whole breakdown of with John Hefter, their VP of Creative, talking about how they use PickFu for every major creative decision. And it's a very good, a quick little testimonial. But the thing that I like to break into, a lot of the reasons why I think this one did so well and saw such a good reaction, is obviously the bottle is much more bright. And so if you're if you're
It's
running
more
this
premium to me as well.
Yeah, really bright, really premium. Yeah, exactly. But as well too, you'll see small things here that you might not necessarily. It might not be the first thing that you notice, but right here, really big in front, right? Instead of Angry Orange, super strength odor neutralizer, you've got Angry Orange, much smaller, and then odor eliminator. The biggest thing that your brain is going to see when you look at this, it's going to be, what does the product do? And then as well, smaller changes, like they've added on this little cat and dog here versus in the original product packaging, that wasn't really clear that, hey, this is for pets. Just their additional tagline. And I guess the whole point of all that, Lazar, to kind of show that example, is that if there's one thing you're going to do with your product packaging that's really going to help, is to explain, what does the product actually do? The other thing I'll say as well, just to give another real quick example, here in terms of product packaging, because I think this is probably one of the most common things that we get is people asking us, what are the biggest impact things they can test with PickFu? And I'll either say main image or product packaging are definitely going to be the most impactful things that they can change and adjust. But yeah, just another example here of again, like, what is this product here? What is it supposed to be doing? It's maybe not so clear. But then if I put right here on the front of the packaging that it's a pet de-shedding brush, then it's like already clear just from an instant kind of what's going to be the best. So yeah, that's product packaging is definitely something that I would recommend testing and getting right for sure.
Yeah, definitely that comb that you showed. I know it because I have a Labrador, but apart from that, I'm pretty sure that, like, if you show it like to random people that don't have pets, like, they're just going to double check and like, what's this? So yeah, like all that stuff like works pretty well. And like from our experience, whenever we use your services, like we ended up having something that maybe sometimes wasn't our first choice, and sometimes was our first choice, but eventually, like at the end, we would get something that would convert way better than the previous idea. And that's mostly because like it's always better to communicate with like 50 or 100 or more people rather than to have your own decision, even though like you're the brand owner or whatever. Like it's always better to ask your potential customers, like, should you do it in one way or another?
Yeah. It makes sense if you're running. When a major company like Nike or Under Armour, when they launch a product, they're going to be spending anywhere from $45,000 to $75,000 per product just based on customer feedback. Now, given these are big, huge companies, but it also makes sense, right? Because they're putting a lot of time and effort and payroll into launching a product, so they don't want to make an incorrect decision. And so I think the big advice for 2020 and beyond is, you don't need to spend 45 grand per product in customer research, but you probably should start doing more than just, again, going with your gut or just going to a random person and going to your family and saying, hey, what do you think about this? We recently did a little thing with case study with Liron, not really a case study, but, he posted up on his page and he was actually asking people, hey, what are your thoughts on this product packaging versus another one? And, he had all these people who were answering the question were Amazon sellers, people who were probably very experienced sellers, but you'll just see that the range of responses it's just heavily skewed into either direction, and everyone has their own kind of opinion. And so I think one of the interesting conclusions he came to is that at the end of that whole thing,
you shouldn't ask sellers.
You don't want to ask sellers. You don't want to go with your gut. Like, you just don't know what you want it. You want it to be kind of in a vacuum, a little bit more scientific than just asking random people, because it's just not going to be consistent.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. Yeah, well, I think we covered more or less everything when it comes to A/B testing. Like, the other thing that you can definitely test, and like that we wanted to test, like, to be honest, like, I know that you want to kill me because of that, but I literally didn't have time for it. I wanted to do A/B tests of headlines for our ads, like to see like how the ads are going to look like with different headlines. And like, I used to do it with you guys a lot, but recently I wanted to do it once again to check like full set of new ads. And like, that's something that works really good. So guys, if you want to like double check your ads, like if they're going to, so basically the idea is not only packaging or your or the box or the main image can be tested. There is a whole bunch of stuff that you can test on Amazon when it comes to your product, and like this is one of them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You can test anything, and it's not even just for e-commerce. It's we do a lot of work in game development and also in publishing. So yeah, anytime anyone needs anything for customer feedback, it's definitely the way to go about doing it. And yeah, man, no worries on any of the other stuff. I know we're super busy with it's always just crazy. But yeah, when maybe after the craziness of Q4, I would love to like dive in and do a deep dive on like PickFu specifically related to PPC. It's not something that we've gotten a chance to do yet, like an actual case study on pay-per-click, and if we could make a noticeable impact on different metrics for PPC, but I'm sure we'll get there at some point. Up until this point, I guess the biggest thing is like look at main image, look at things that are related to your main image, because based on my understanding, like that's going to be the biggest visual thing that someone sees. And
of course,
like advertising is just, and you don't really have too much flexibility. It's not like you could put in a whole different image yet, based on my understanding.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, man. I don't want to take any more of your time. To be honest, I'm dead tired, and I just want to go and like take a quick shower before like the next guest. If you have anything else to add, like feel free to do so, or like we're going to stay in touch, and like there's probably more stuff that we're going to do together. I know, like. If guys, if you want to see like some of the tips and tricks about PickFu, go to Sellers Alley Facebook page as well. We had a month together with tips and tricks, and we shared a lot of stuff together about A/B testing of products. So yeah,
Lazar, go get some sleep, man. Enjoy yourself.
I'm going to do it in an hour. I'm getting Liron, and after that, I'm going to get some couple of hours of sleep, definitely.
All right. Well, good luck, man. Good luck on the rest of the live stream, and I'll see you later.